Well, hello, 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 everybody. We are, in fact, live today. It's one of my favorite hours right here on the Forbes Factor. Thank you so much for joining me. What a wonderful beginning of the year. We're now into March, which I find very strange how quickly it's gone. For those of you following me, I've been all over the US. I spoke from North Carolina to New Hampshire to Arizona, LA, Utah. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. And I will tell you, spreading the message of granting people permission, getting them to say yes. And of course, you know where my heart is, getting people to pitch their ideas so that they get heard. Well, today is a different part of my life. And what's so very exciting about that is, and we're going to meet two of my friends, one who I'm going to get to speak with in Long Island. That's a whole nother story, the second half of the hour. But up first, I'm not sure if many of you know, but I started my career as an actress, and I just love acting. From the time that I was in high school, when I did not get cast as the lead in any of the plays, I was townsperson number 3 and chorus a lot. And I had this vision that I was meant for a little bit more than that, but maybe that's not what the cards were meant to be. When I got off to college, though, I got given the lead in a very important play. And when the director gave that to me, I remember going to him and being very confused as to why now I was going to go off to be a lawyer. I had my career set, but that acting bug was always in my heart. And Professor David Richmond sat me down. He said, well, you are, in fact, my ideal character. It was Rosalind in Shakespeare's As You Like It. He said, it was made for you. I cannot wait to do this with you. And it was so loving, all the things that he'd said that only I heard or felt inside of me. Now, here's the funny thing. Not so funny. I grew up kind of ugly, awkward, broken nose and frizzy hair and big thighs, and people always judged my appearance. Well, the funny thing about Professor David Richmond is he was 100% legally blind. This man couldn't see any of the things that other people had seen. And it was enough of an energy. The play was successful. He was correct. And I packed my bags, told my parents how much I loved them, and went off for New York and never looked back. Between Broadway and soap operas and movies, it has been a phenomenal career. But sometimes, just because you want something doesn't mean the universe has that in store for you. And as many of you know, while I've been acting, I've also taken the word business out of show business and created a career valued at over $2.5 billion of sales. Yeah, it turns out that acting bug really helps when you're doing infomercials and TV hosting. And then, of course, the big news for me is that this May, I get to co-star in a feature film that has a theatrical release. And again, we talk about life happening for you, not to you. Well, when in my 30s, I got mugged. And I ended up in a dojo, kicking and punching anything I could find. And for years, I've been a martial artist in many different disciplines. Well, this movie that I'm in is The Expendables for martial artists. All the old timers are in this. And it's set in the Old West in the 1890s. And I play the bad girl, right? I know it's a big surprise. But I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited. What a fun thing to do. But acting has always been my heart. Well, my first guest has a similar journey, that she has been part of that world forever. And I'm excited for you to hear what she's up to, because the other part that's exciting me very much about her is that she's taken the career, the journey into her own hands. One of the biggest problems in the old days is you had to hire PR agents. There was no social media. You couldn't get your ideas out to the world. Now you can. You can create your own movies and television, or can you? So I want to welcome Michelle Danner to the stage. It's my honor to have you here, all the way from Los Angeles. Give her a big round of applause. The crowd goes wild. How are you? Oh, you know what? I cannot hear you, my girl. Can you unmute for me? I'm not sure why. Let's turn that up. No, I see you moving, but I don't hear you.
Okay. Now you hear me. Yeah.
Hello, my
Yep.
love.
Hi.
All
Happy
right,
to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
you're welcome. You have a lot of movie posters behind you. Did you have something to do with all of them?
Yes, I directed all of them.
Well, you don't get to meet many female directors, which obviously with the new movie Barbie out, it's becoming, certainly the spotlight is turning a little bit, but something tells me that you've been on a very long journey to be doing what you're doing. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Well, it started out as me just falling in love with literature, with words, with stories. At the core, I think, of every craftsperson is storytelling. And so I grew up in Paris, and then I moved to New York when I was in my teens and studied with Stella Adler, studied with Uta Hagen, some wonderful teachers.
Uda
And
was one of Uda. You know, it's funny not to take you off track, but Uda and Herbert were my first teachers.
Oh,
Down there,
wow.
the
Yeah, I also
neighborhood playhouse, right in the little corner of New York City on the west side
HB,
somewhere.
HB Studios on Bank
Yeah,
Street in the
yeah,
Village. Yes.
right.
And I also studied with Herbert Bergdorf as well. So those were the days where we would bring all these bags of props to class to do scenes, and then we would go out with everybody afterwards. I think it was, I can't remember, it was the White Horse or the White Tavern, something like that, around
What
the
what what
corner.
what year are you talking? This is kind of funny. What year?
Let me see, what year was that? The early 90s, I think, or the late 80s, somewhere there.
The late
So a
80s.
while ago.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm
A
right there with
while.
you, sister. I did not know that we shared that love of those people and that time. There was an innocence back then, wasn't there?
Absolutely. But I mean, innocence, I don't know. Those were the days of Studio 54 and Club A and the Vertical Club and, all of those. But yeah, I mean, it was a great time, and there was an innocence if you look back. Um, and so I had a great preparation with some wonderful, iconic teachers, and then moved to Los Angeles and I continued to act, but then started to teach a lot. And from teaching, the bridge took me to directing, and then started to direct. And now I'm in this place in my life where I'm being offered a lot of things. And as a matter of fact, so I have a movie that premiered a couple of nights ago at the Chinese. It's doing the festival circuit,
Tell
and
us,
I'm on
it's
my way.
called Miranda. It's called Miranda's Victim. Tell us about
Well,
this.
no, Miranda's Victim is on Hulu. So that came out in October of last year. It's a wonderful, very unique courtroom drama thriller that has to do with how the Miranda rights came about.
Okay.
And nobody had done that story. Nobody told it. So the chances are to find a story that had never been told. So that was offered to me, and it came into play. I found this incredible cast to come and tell it, starting with Donald Sutherland and Eddie Garcia and Kyle MacLachlan, Ryan Phillippe and Luke Wilson, and the lead was played by Abigail Breslin and Mireille Noss. I mean, the list goes on. I just had this cast: Emily Van Cam, Josh Bowman, Dan Lauria, Nolan Gould, Taryn Manning, and yeah, the movie's gotten great response, a great release, wonderful reviews. But at the core of it, it's a story about justice and a woman, standing up for her truth when something terrible happened to her. She was abducted and raped, and she had to go through several trials to get justice.
Wow. Well, I love the fact that you're doing this. Now, share with me being a woman in a male director's world growing up. I mean, there's a lot of movies behind you. When did you start directing?
I started directing in my 30s, and as I went on, it takes a long time from the moment that you try to conceive it, you develop it, you go into pre-production, you film it, you do the post, you do the marketing. It's several years of your life, which is fine, because at least several years of your life. Sometimes it's more. And sometimes it can be less. Sometimes you can do it all within a year, um, which is, I think, what's happening with this last movie, The Italians, because with every movie, I have lessons that I've learned from the previous movie. And so I try not to make the same mistakes. I just try to make only new mistakes.
Ah, I love that. Well, but let's go back because that's an interesting transition. I love directing much more than I do producing. How did that very first leap from acting to directing happen?
Well, I wanted to be the one, what I realized, of course, is when you direct, you pick the canvas, you pick the paints, you pick the materials, you pick the size, you sign it. And I wanted to be able to sign it. If you go on someone's set, if you're invited to somebody else's party, then that's great. And I love that. And I have been invited to other people's parties as an actress. But you just, you have no control. It's a wrap. You can go and have your own postpartum depression. When you're directing, you get to make the choices. You get to decide what it's going to look like, the color palette, the editing, the music, all those choices, those creative choices are in your hands because you are the captain of the ship.
Right, but so you
And
first wait, did you find a story that you felt compelled to tell?
yes, I did. I found it was a romantic comedy. We had done it on stage first. I'm a great believer that when things start as plays, they're richer and fuller, often, not always, but in terms of characters. So I love that bridge from stage to screen. So
Hmm.
yeah, I had found a piece that I really wanted to film with a great ensemble of actors at the time. This was a while back with Jason Alexander. Actually, this movie is getting a re-release with Ron Perlman, Rob Estes, who I've collaborated with for a very many decades. He's actually in this movie, the new movie, The Italians, that I just did. He's playing the lead. So yeah, I mean, I believe in long collaborations, and when you meet artists that you love, you just want to keep creating with them over and over again.
Well, that's certainly true of Scorsese. His entire career has been with De Niro, which is amazing that those two can do that. And there's several other people who've just kind of had those collaboratives, and that's a very lucky relationship to have. And so, did your first experience as a director go well?
Very well. I had a great experience, but it was really the equivalent of me going to film school. And I wish I had gone to film school. I have a son who's actually graduating from USC in theater and film in a few months, and I see, what he's doing, and the education that he is getting. I was self-taught, which is fine too.
And so, there's not a lot of women directors. Was it hard? So, after you did your first one, because also it comes down to finances, did you make money with your first project?
Yes, I actually did. I made money with all my projects, which was great. Well, they were independent movies,
Sure.
and we marketed well. So we were lucky enough to not only make our money back, but have a margin of profit.
So, what advice would you give not only to female actresses, but who want a little bit more control in their lives?
Well, find the stories that you need to tell. Like you said to me, what story do you need to tell? That's very important. That you should find that, because first of all, not every story deserves to be told. It's a lot of the times you go, well, this has been told, but you haven't told it. So if you can bring a unique slant to it, I think that that certainly is the key. But something that you really feel compelled to tell, something that you're connected to, that is very important for a director.
And so, do you plan out what you're doing? Do people come to you with scripts? Do people knock on your door all the time and submit things? Or how do you decide on your projects?
Well, right now I am getting a lot of offers right now. There's a lot going on around me. Some of it has to do because of Miranda's Victim, because it was very well received and very well reviewed. Some of it just has to do because I've been around for a while. I'm old.
You
Some
are
of it
not, you are seasoned, my love. You are not old.
Some of it has to do with I'm not yeah, I know I'm no, I'm just joking. I'm not that old, but Um some of it has to do with reputation. I work very well with actors. That is one of the magic wands that I possess. So I get a lot of actors want to work with me. And I create a set that is fun, first and foremost. And then, I certainly try and give actors a safe place to take risks.
Well, but that's not typical. I've been an actress my entire life. I've been on a lot of television sets where it was about that shot is set up, do your thing and move on. Very little communication with directors. And do you think that is a huge difference that you come from being an actress? That gives you a very different and an actress, not an actor, because us as women have very different sensibilities and nurturing, I think. Do you think you've had an advantage?
Yes, there's no question about it because I understand the language. I understand what it takes to give a performance, what actors have to go through, and so I can empathize with them and connect with them on a deep level.
So I also, it's funny. I just dipped my toe back into to acting, and all of a sudden back in the auditioning process, and it reminds me of all the years of struggle and pain. Do you still currently act?
I do. I totally do. I act. I mean, a lot of my movies I have not acted in. I've directed, not directed in. The last movie that I did, The Italians, I acted in that movie. Yes, because the last frame of the movie says the reason why I did it. At the very end of the movie, what comes up is for my mother, Loredana. So this was an homage to my mother, who was Italian, and so yes, I feel if I feel that it's right that I should act in it, I'll act. But and I have no problem. People ask me all the time what it's like to carry both hats. Well, for me, this last experience was very joyous. I had a great cast of actors surrounding me. Like I said, Rob Estes and Abigail Breslin, who was in Miranda's Victim, also came to play with us, and Matthew Daddario, who played my son, and David DeLuise, and little extraordinary Lady Kazan played my mother,
Oh, I love Lady. I
and
used to say,
Perry Reeves.
good for you. What a great cast.
Yeah, I had a great cast, and Olivia Lucardi was in it as well. Fantastic cast. They came to do this, little movie. We just played for a little bit, and a great experience not only to shoot it but to edit it. And like I said, we had this premiere a few nights ago, and it feels good. Listen, I've directed the thrillers, psychological dramas, courtroom, but to have a group of people be in a theater and laugh and laugh and laugh, this roaring laughter from beginning to end,
Oh,
was absolutely exhilarating because it's hard in a comedy. You don't know. I hadn't test screen it, so I went out on a leap, took a risk. I didn't know. I was nervous. I don't know how people are going to react to this. You think it's a comedy, you think it's funny, but it turned out it was funny. My sister and producer of the movie texted me in the middle of the movie, and she said, "I guess we made a funny movie," and so we did, which feels good.
well, especially in today's day and age, it's hard to be funny because everything gets criticized. And so now you've got these two movies in the can. One is the Italians, which I cannot wait to see. Miranda's Victim sounds brilliant. How do you decide what's next and what is next for you? Oh,
Well, okay, so coming to offer me this movie, they said, okay, it's a romantic comedy, and it's shot in Puglia, Italy. So I have never been to Puglia. I've been to Italy many, many times. But I know that Puglia is one of the most beautiful places in the world. And so they had me at Puglia. That's how it started. But then I read the script, and it's a beautiful story about falling in love. And I thought, we need these stories. Listen, I've directed so many edgy things and violent things, but I think that wonderful stories about falling in love are much needed. And so going to do a movie about love, and I'm bringing a team, DP, that did Miranda's Victim, and my editor and my first AD, and actually they happen to be Italian. So I'm really excited to go to Italy next week and
oh,
start the journey. We'll start to shoot in Rome. I've never shot in Rome before, and so yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I think it sounds extraordinary. Now, why movies and not? I mean, there's so many streaming platforms. Have you not ever ventured into a television series? And is that something you've been thinking about?
Well, I have a few that I'm developing. Nobody's offered me a TV show yet. Sure, it'll come. It'll be in the works. Um, I have this movie. I have another huge movie that I'm going to be doing in the fall. I have a couple of great independent movies that I'm very excited about. So I told my son, who's graduating, who's been a great help to me, and who's also going to write and direct. I said, listen, I mean, I think it's clear now that this is the deal. We're either going to be developing something, preparing for something, shooting it, or doing the post on it, and then
Right.
the marketing. We're going to be at any given stage, or sometimes because we're ending one project, beginning another one, we're going to be working on several, phases at the same time. But it's fine. It's been, it never escapes me that I am doing the thing that I'm passionate about, including in between when I have holes in my schedule. I go back to teaching. I was just teaching this weekend my master class, The Golden Box, to a group of fantastic actors. I was in London Castle, Stratford Avon, where Shakespeare buried. It never escapes me that I'm very lucky to be doing the thing in this lifetime that I'm very passionate about.
I love that. How do people find out about you? And where do they go to if they want to contact you or
Well,
follow you?
I think they just go on, I don't do any of the business. Thankfully, I have somebody else, but it's Michelle Danner. I have two schools in Los Angeles. One is Michelle Danner Acting Studio, and the other one is the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory, which is a conservatory program of 1 year, 2 years with degree programs for actors in acting and filmmaking. So we have a beautiful space in Culver City. Um, and I had a artist do a mural. So if you're driving from west to east, it says you cannot spell heart without art. And if you're driving from the other way, from east to west, you can't make art without heart. And I think that those two quotes very much embody the philosophy of, the teachings, the great faculty that I've also have at the school. Our students are very happy. We were just going through an accreditation recently, and the people that came hugged me at the end and said, "You should be very proud of what you built." So that made me feel really good because I think that our students are getting a great education and also a sense of community, which is very much what is needed when you're studying acting. You need to be part of a community.
Well, I will tell you, I am sad that of all the years that I spent as an actress in Los Angeles, that I never crossed paths with you between New York and LA. I certainly studied with Milton Casales and put a lot of time in with a lot of different professionals. And I wish I had met a woman who would have been a role model, especially in the directing arena, because for me, when it all hit the fan and it wasn't working as successfully as I needed it to, I took the word business out of show and I ended up doing infomercials and series television and just things that made more money. But I'm lamenting a little bit lately as I've got some ideas in my head. And you said, when you've got a story that you need to tell. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'm just grateful that we had a chance to meet. So thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank
All right.
you.
I look forward to supporting your movies, and we will reach out to you and send you lots of love and kudos. And you guys will be right back with my very next guest after this. But I'm just going to just kind of bask in Miss Michelle. Thank you guys very much. Make sure you check out The Italians, Miranda's Victim. And if you want to be an actress, she sounds like my kind of girl. Seriously studying the craft, the art, and the heart. Thank you so very much, my girl. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So I have to tell you that was what a wonderful interview. It just reminded me of where I come from. When she was talking about, for those of you who don't know, Herbert Berghoff and Uta Hagen. Uta Hagen wrote the book on acting. And I studied that. I went to Manhattan, and back in those days, she was talking about HP Studios. You had to walk up 4 flights of stairs, something ridiculous. In the West Side, there were no elevators. You did bring bags and bags of props. It was all about behavior. Gosh, I'm just having all these scene study for days. Oh my gosh. And then being in Los Angeles. So I'm thrilled and excited to check out her movies. Miranda Victim sounds like a very important movie that Miranda writes, and seeking justice when something happens to you. And so I'm excited. Can I get a sneak peek? Is Rhonda back in the room? If she's here, I'm going to bring up my other guest just to say hi. And if she's not, well, then I will talk to her when we come back, because Rhonda, also talk about my roots. It seems to be something that's percolating in me, comes from Long Island. She's invited me up there to speak. I was up there a couple of weeks ago. And if you've never heard me do a New York accent, let me tell you, talking to the people in New York, it was like going home. And I was Miss Teenage New York back in the 1970s. I know, it sounds kind of funny. Rhonda, turn your camera on.
You guys, hold on. Let's see.
And so she's just invited me to go back. So if you're listening to this live and you're in the neighborhood in March 26th, I will be speaking, attending a huge event. And the irony for me is that the event is at MacArthur Airport. And I grew up with a dad, my beautiful father, who, even though we didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, he loved flying airplanes. And when he was in his 20s, he used to take a seaplane off the Hudson River. It was his big fantasy. And he said to my mom when they got married and they had their first child, that their first child was going to learn to fly an airplane before she drove a car. Well, sure enough, I was that kid. I remember being 15 years old. My dad says, let's go out and learn how to drive. We drive out to Islip. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting in the cockpit of an airplane thinking, I'm sorry, what are we doing? He told me about the thing he told my mom 15 years earlier. The next thing you know, I am soloing in an airplane all by myself. I'm literally 15 years old. I've logged about 75 hours in my time. I got my license when I turned 16. I used to buzz my college. I thought I was like the hottest. I mean, remember, for those of you who follow my life and my dreams, I wanted to be James Bond growing up. That was my big fantasy. And so can you imagine, you walk to the airport at my college, put down your license, and they give you an airplane. I think it was like $50 for an hour. And there I am doing my things, doing some loop-de-loops, buzzing my college, feeling like an absolute bona fide rock star. What a crazy fantasy life I have led. And I appreciate you guys spending some time with me to learn more about it. We come back right after this message. We will bring Rhonda on and we'll talk about how, again, successful women who are living the dream and rocking their lives. All right, you guys, as always, make sure that you reach out and share my broadcast of Forbes Factor. You can like us on Voice America at Forbes Riley Podcast. You can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon Music. We're everywhere. Just make sure you take a listen. We bring on beautiful guests and we always focus on health, wealth, and happiness. And today, I've got all three. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this message.